Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for staying back for the panel session 3. And today we have 4 prominent speakers who would like to be sharing their personal journey as well as challenges when it comes to starting up company relating to legal tech. So here we have Jun Lo, we also have Anna, we have Chan Ziqiang, as well as Evan Wong. So I hope all of you are ready, and I'll be start to share their bio data. So we have Jun Lo. Jun Lo is the founder of EasyLaw, #1 legal app in Malaysia, and 1 out of 4 Malaysian lawyers are currently using her app. So EasyLaw was also awarded as the top 3 finalists in the Global Legal Tech Venture Day in Spain in 2018. How impressive is that? So Jun has also been featured in various platforms such as New Straits Times, BFM, Malaysia SME, The Cover Page, Oriental Daily, Channel W, 988 FM, as well as TT Plus FM. And here we also have Evan Wong. Evan Wong is the CEO and co-founder of Checkbox, a 13 times award-winning no-code workflow automation platform, and listed as Forbes 30 under 30. Evan has worked with many legal teams on their digital transformation projects by empowering teams to build software without coding and leveraging expertise in developing digital solutions to solve business process problems. Through his work, he has helped to redefine how lawyers conduct intake and triage, produce documents, serve advice, and facilitate workflows with the focus on applying innovative solutions with the ruthless practicality. Prior to Checkbox, guess what? Evan was also a founder of award-winning education business, which he started at the age of 17. And here we also have Chan Ziqiang. Is the co-founder and co-CEO of the legal technology and knowledge management company, Intellect. Intellect was founded in 2015, and the company operates both in Singapore as well as in London. Intellect harnesses AI to provide innovative knowledge management solutions to the professional services industry. Chang Ziqiang was admitted to practice law as an advocate and solicitor of the Supreme Court of Australia, and he was also the assistant head of the Innovation and Enterprise at the National Research Foundation, Prime Minister's Office in Singapore. Chang Ziqiang has also been recognized by the St. Gallen Symposium as one of the leaders of tomorrow in 2011 as well as 2014. Last but not least, we have Anna. Anna hails all the way from Russia. She holds a law degree from St. Petersburg State University and also graduated from Kiev University of Foreign Languages. Anna has been recognized as a litigation expert, the Best Lawyers International ranking. She has been named among the top 250 top managers ranked by the Russian Managers Association, a leading business association in Russia. Anna had been a partner at EY for 11 years and managing partner at Deloitte Legal CIS for the previous 2.5 years. So as the leader and tech team, she focuses on delivering sophisticated business solutions. Anna has extensive experience in business process engineering, optimization, and also transformation. So I hope all of you are already feeling inspired with all our panelists' background story. And let's start finding their secret on how they reached their position now. So I would like to ask our panelists if you could share about how you founded EasyLaw, Intellect, as well as Checkbox. Jun, would you like to start first?
Yeah, sure. So it was like a very funny story where a few of the friends we kind of like what we call as a mama session. So one of us they are lawyer, so the other one is very technology background. That is where I'm coming from, a very marketing background. So back then we were like thinking, hey, you know what? Uber and Grab is like so famous right now, where it's actually a platform. Like, how can we help lawyers, like specifically in the what kind of platform we can build? So because we have one lawyer sitting there, we were like thinking, hey, why not about legal tech? You know marketing, and then I know legal, and then we have another tech guy. So that's why we kind of like founded. In the end, we founded a lot. That's how we started.
Thank you so much, June. Can you imagine from a session at Mama Store, now came up with a mobile app? So let's ask Chang about how do you found Intellect?
Okay, hi friends. Well, I founded Intelllex because to solve a personal problem. I used to practice law in Singapore actually. So finding the precedent was a pain, and we still rallied. So what I thought was, since the business of lawyering is in professional services, and professional services will be anchored upon knowledge, knowledge management will be central to the future development of law firms. So if any technology can help me get home earlier, I'll be happy. I want to contribute to building that vision, and that's why I started Intelllex.
Excellent. I actually feel very inspired hearing your stories, how first from personal problems, you've come up with innovative solutions. So I can foresee there'll be so many innovative solutions out there, given that we have so many problems relating to COVID-19 pandemic. Aaron Wong, so can you share how you founded Checkbox?
Absolutely, it's a pleasure to be here. This virtual background looks like I'm in the back of a car. It's because so please excuse if it cuts in and out. So I started Checkbox because, like Chang, I came across a personal problem. I was running my other business and found that legal and compliance content was delivered in very static, manual ways. And I thought myself, as a law student at the time, that this content could be delivered much more dynamically, much more personalized. But then I also realized that the legal industry or the compliance industry didn't have typically the technical skills to go and build software to automate and create these visual experiences. And so I thought, let's go and build Checkbox, a no-code platform that empowers the legal profession to actually use drag and drop without IT skills to build and digitize the industry one application at a time.
Thank you so much, Evan, for sharing your stories, how you came up with Chatbox. Personally, when I teach law using gamification, I realized it is very difficult for myself as a person who has no knowledge on coding to start developing something. So it's good to know that you have started initiative to make our lives much more easier. So Anna, you are currently the managing partner of Legit. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Can you share what are the examples of legal tech services that are being provided by Legit? And also, how does these services provide added value to potential clients? Hopefully, the participants who are here today can be prospective clients of yours.
Oh, thank you for introduction. I'm really happy to be here. Actually, for me, it's a very new experience to be introduced not as a managing partner of Deloitte. It's my first experience to be to be a founder and to be a managing partner of my own business. And for me, it's a big challenge. Thank you very much for inviting me. I feel really, really exciting. As you know, I am a lawyer for more than 20 years, and I worked as a leader for many legal teams, international law firms, and in Big Four, as you said earlier a little bit. And for me, it's really very important to look at business processes, how in-house lawyers work. And during 20 years, I just examined all the business processes. I examined, all the challenges lawyers face. And I am, as a lawyer and working for lawyers, I understand exactly how to estimate the maturity of the in-house legal function. And I help them, to transform legal function from analog system to digital ecosystem, I would say. In fact, I don't sell, of course, we do coding a little bit. I don't sell technologies itself. I sell methodology, how to do this transformation into digital ecosystem successfully, how to choose a proper tech for lawyers to make life more efficient, easier, I don't know, more modern, let's say. You know that lawyers are very, very conservative. It's a very conservative profession, but we must be in digital. We must be transformed. So, in fact, answering your questions, what is the added value? I think that my added value is my deep expertise in LMC, legal management services. I just analyze legal function and help lawyers to choose the best IT tool to provide them the best automatization for better price, I would say.
Thank you so much, and I completely agree with you, because there are so many technological apps or platforms available out there. Sometimes we are spoiled for choice. We don't know which one lawyers should subscribe. So thank you so much for sharing your services. And I would like to come back to June. So you're, I think, the only one amongst all these panelists without a law background. So you've also shared in your interviews with EasyLaw portal that you would like, when you venture into EasyLaw, you have to have a more diverse background. So can you share, without having legal background, so what are the challenges that you face in developing this mobile app?
That was very challenging. I'm not going to lie, because seriously, I don't know a lot of jargons. I think that's the first problem. Like, there's so many different jargon. I didn't even know there are so many different types of lawyer. That is corporate litigation, that is conveyancing. I was like, oh my God, that's like really an eye opener for me, because to me, all the while, I thought like there is only one type of lawyer, meaning lawyer, right? So in the end, after knowing that we are going to really come up with this legal tech, I spent a lot of time, my time to networking with different lawyers, speak with different lawyers to know, like, I only got to know different lawyer, they have like different, it's just like a different specialist, and then they have different problem. They need different solutions, right? So that's where I spend a lot of time networking with a lot of different lawyers, try to mix around with them to get the feel how to talk to lawyer, how to talk like them, essentially. Because from a very marketing person, which can be like advantage because I'm from a diverse background, right? So that's where when I first started out, I felt like, oh my God, to learn so many different information, need to learn like a new language for me. That was very challenging. So after that, how did I overcome is that I think it's the matter of time. Number one, you just need a little bit patience. You kind of like learn something new, and definitely mixing with my lawyer friends as well as the LawTech community definitely helped me a lot. So that's how I actually overcome that.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing, June. I can feel that you did a lot of groundwork to come up with the EasyLaw app, and I don't think it's easy to actually go and speak to as many lawyers as you can and like try to emulate their behavior, but it's a good initiative, even for law students, I would say. Yes,
Thank you.
No problem. So next question, I would like to direct to Chang Qian, because usually before a session, I was background Chang to understand further about it. So can you share with regards to the features of Intellect? Particularly, I like on automatic classification of information, but wouldn't the features are also available in other platforms such as LexisNexis or Westlaw? So how do you achieve a greater adoption of Intellect from new clients?
So just like to share, guys, we are part of Thomson Reuters that owns Westlaw as one of our investors, and the form of categorization that we talk about here is not the same as the head notes you see in the law reports. And primarily, Intellect is not involved as a business for database. So we sell legal content. We don't sell cases. We don't sell precedents. That's not what we do. Our technology is a knowledge management platform that can categorize legal documents, whether or not they are cases or not cases. So the highest value is obtained when our clients include their internal documents such as submissions to court, email advice, research memos. These sort of institutional knowledge will reap the highest value. But of course, if you put in a law report, if you put in a judgment, we'll still do the categorization for you. And by categorization, we don't mean head notes. We mean an automatic classification of understanding what is the document type. Is this a court submission? Is this a case? Is this a piece of legal advice? We'll be able to detect that and tag the document automatically. So that's one, document type. The second type, the second categorization involves legal topic. So what is the legal topic that we're talking about here for this particular document? So instead of doing it manually, we're able to identify it automatically. The third thing, which is something that our clients actually derive the most value from, is the ability to identify legal questions and issues in a particular document, whereby we receive it out and we tag it automatically as well. And that's something that's not available in the legal content databases. The fourth thing we have recently is the ability to identify useful paragraphs within a particular legal document. So it can be a repronouncement of the law, it can be a summary of the law mouthed out by the judge, it can be an argument mouthed out by the advocate. These are useful paragraphs and they don't come in very standard formats. So what we are able to do is we are able to say, okay, this ought to be a useful paragraph. We can sieve it out and show it as a search result to the user. So this is the reason why when we started to approach the London market in 2018, we're able to get more meetings. I wouldn't say we're able to close sales really quickly because we're in the B2B space. Sales cycle is longer, and as startups tend to be required to show a bit more before we're able to close the sale. However, the ability to categorize and the idea of knowledge management actually rings very easily to the firms in London. Able to close Clifford Chance. There's an article online where we did with them to build a knowledge management system for a specific practice area. So how do we want to actually spread the use of Intelllex? This is a go-to-market question. It involves really quite a bit of education for law firms to first acknowledge that what they have done in terms of their work have a lot of reference value. So let's say, for example, a particular submission has been written, a particular research memo has been written. Whatever that's been written can be reused in future. Currently, how it's being used is actually by memory. A particular partner remembers what they have done and they say, okay, check out this case, check out this particular file that we have done. We did something over there. So an associate will go and try and retrieve that file. But however, there are many questions and many useful paragraphs written by the law firm. If they are stuck in the network drive or they are stuck in the document management system, they are buried forever. And a new lawyer that joins the firm will never have any idea that such a file has been done previously. So what we're trying to do here is to say, okay, we're going to give life to the work that's being done previously. We're going to select and identify automatically the valuable parts up front. We're going to show it to you so that it's not lost. It can be reused, and therefore your law business can be scalable thereafter. There's no need to reinvent the wheel every time a new thing comes up. So I think this requires a bit of education, especially when there's a glut of junior lawyers and people say, it's okay, we'll let the young people go find out stuff. That is one of the reasons why there's a higher attrition rate. And I think that attitude is starting to change the use of technology. So I think I'll pause here first in answering Puteri's question of what's the difference between us and a legal case database. We're not a content provider. We don't sell content. And how are we going about our go-to-market?
I think that's very impressive, more impressive than what I initially thought when I went to Intellect website. So it's good that you share all these feeds, right? But I'm just curious because as a co-founder, of course, you need to do a lot of advocacy, a lot of marketing to promote your products to potential clients. So by having all these features, do you introduce all these features one shot, or is there a strategy where you introduce one feature at a time?
Oh, I think lawyers have a very short attention span, and especially when you're a legal tech vendor. When you're a legal tech product, they'll be like, okay, you're trying to sell me stuff. Get off my back. Chances are that's going to happen. Unless we are talking to an established firm with an innovation team and a knowledge management team, which most firms in London do have, then we can sit down for a longer period of time to talk about the use case and understand that legal processes or processes. But if I were to meet a local Singapore less than 10-man law firm, I'll only say one thing. The ability to let your guys reference what you have done before so that he's not reinventing the wheel is the crux. So instead of going to the practice management system to remember the client file name and then the client name, and then you go through another 5 documents to look for the folder called research, and clicking into research to look at the folder called memos, and clicking into the memo folder to look for the thing called submissions, and you do it 4 or 5 times, and it's hidden. I think the managing partner gets it quite easily. That they really require a search engine, and I think by interacting with younger lawyers now, very familiar with newer technologies, who grew up with Google, unlike my generation, we didn't grow up with Google. Their first inclination is not to ask the managing partner where to look for in the document management system. It's to go to a search bar and search, and if they're unable to do so, that jams up the workflow, and reinvention of the wheel will probably begin. So I think this change in user behavior is actually quite a strong signal to managing partners. So developing a search or visualization capability for knowledge management becomes the easier sell.
All right, thank you so much for that. And I completely agree. When it comes to doing research, not only young lawyers, even myself, the first thing that I'll do is that I'll Google it to find any quick information. But it's good that Intellect encourages automation in order to provide seamless extraction of information, particularly when lawyers are very busy people having to manage multiple cases at the same time. So the next person that I would like to call is Evan. So Evan, I read your profile on Australia FinTech website, and I found that your first business is called Hero Education, and it was founded when you were 17. So you also shared in the interview that you don't need to find the right idea before you launch a startup. So I have a dream to start up my own startup, but I am also mindful of the risk, of the cost, of a lot of things that come up to my mind. So that will hinder me from actually start developing my own startup. So how do you fund your business when you're 17 years old? And also, do you think that having theoretical knowledge, such as knowledge on tax or accounting or strategic management, is necessary?
Excellent. So hopefully my background's not giving everyone motion sickness at home, but I think I'll answer that question in three ways. I think the challenges when starting a business, irrespective of the age that you start at, one is definitely the capability, one is the resources that you alluded to, and the third one is probably the general approach that you would take when you're starting a startup. So the first one around capability, I would say that when you start a business, unfortunately you are one or two or maybe 3 co-founders that really have to set up an entire organization, from knowing how to do the legal work to the HR to the product design to the go-to-market, the marketing, the sales. There's a whole variety of organizational skills that you need to be able to cover, and it's unrealistic or unethical to expect anyone to start with those skills when you first start off. So I would say don't feel intimidated about what I said. Instead, I think it's really important to have an open mind, to understand that is the journey of learning that you have to go through, and that you have to really be a sponge as a founder to go and learn. Just because you're a lawyer doesn't mean that you're going to be a great founder because you've got that legal expertise and you don't want to touch the HR side or the sales side, or if you're a hustler and you don't want to touch the accounting or keeping side. No, as a founder, you have to roll up your sleeves and really understand that you are the person or the small group of people that have to really learn the whole entire value chain of organization and go and develop those skills in your founding journey. Right, so that's number one, capability. You don't have to have it at the beginning, but have the mindset to develop it as you need it, and pretty quickly too. The second thing is around cost and resources. I think one of the biggest misconceptions around starting a business is that you need a lot of capital to begin. When I started, I had very little capital, very little experience as well. And I guess for those of you who like to be a bit more scientific in the way they approach things in life, there is a concept called the lean startup, or the lean startup cycle, which is very simple. It is build, measure, learn as a cycle. And the idea is that you build what your idea is, you go out to the market and you test and measure. Effectively, you test what how the market reacts to your hypothesis, your assumptions, and then you measure the result and learn so that you can iterate or pivot that original product or that idea that you have. And here's the key. The key is to be able to do that as quickly and as cheaply as possible. So whilst many people think when you start a technology business, you need to start writing code or building the software, or even you've heard the phrase MVP or minimum viable product. A lot of people think that MVP needs to be a technical product. It doesn't have to be. In fact, the best MVPs are the ones that don't actually even require coding, doesn't require software, where you're actually able to take the most important assumptions about your business or your idea and you're able to validate it very quickly and cheaply. So let me give you a very, very simple example. I had a friend many years ago. He now owns a quite successful business, but when he first met me, he had an idea of creating a on-demand massage application. So if you wanted a massage, no matter where you were, you'd kind of give your location, you pay for it, and at the right time you scheduled, the masseuse would come and give you a massage, right? And then they'll leave, and the trend happens. Rather than building an app at the get-go, what he actually did was he put up an ad on a marketplace like Gumtree or eBay, right? So he put up an ad, one side saying, looking for masseuses, paying X dollars an hour. And on the other end, he put up giving massages on demand where you are. And so what happened was when people actually engaged with this ad and said, I want a massage at this time at this location, he actually said, okay, great. How about you transfer the money into this account, and at the scheduled time, a masseuse will rock up. On the other end, then say, he would engage a masseuse, and what he would do is literally drive to the masseuse's house, pick them up, drive them to the actual customer, drop them off, wait for the massage to finish, and then pick them back up and send them home. When you think about the experience for the customer, what was it like? Well, they said, I want a massage at this time. They made the payment online. At the right time, someone rocked up, gave the massage, and they left. The experience for the end user was very much no different from a full-fledged $100,000 application. But he was actually able to do that in such a cheap way. And yes, it is manual and not scalable, but that's the point. It's to keep things super cheap at the beginning so you don't overinvest in the build. Instead, you're focusing on validating the assumptions that you have. And sometimes they call this the Wizard of Oz effect, where if you remember the movie, there's a big giant wizard that's almighty and powerful in the land of Oz. But you find out in the movie, it's a small old man pulling levers behind a curtain. So if you go and Google that Wizard of Oz startup, you'll see that kind of concept as being one of the fastest, cheapest ways to actually create an MVP. And I'll wrap up. The last thing was talking about really the point around, do you actually need those necessary skills around tax, accounting, legal? The answer is no. I think June made a very good point earlier in her introduction. So long as you're having the right conversations and really focusing on empathy and customer centricity, you don't need those things, because ultimately it's about solving customer problems. And that can be learned through very open-minded conversations and frequent conversations, and being very good at synthesizing information and then coming up with conclusions, not in a black box, but together with your customers. Hope that makes sense.
Yes, definitely, 100%. And after hearing your answers, I feel very relieved to know that the first thing that we need to have is an open mind. I do have an open mind for 1 minute. And then after that, when people start asking, are you sure you want to do this? Have you considered this? Have you considered that? Then I'm like, okay, maybe not. So I believe that similar sentiments will also be shared by our participants who are here today. So that's why we're having this session, to learn the struggles as well as adventure are faced by all of you. So the next question that I will ask to all panels is open to everyone with regards to the importance of having good mentors. And where do you find all these mentors from? Is it from particular organization, or do you do like June style, go and speak with everyone? So anyone would like to start first?
Maybe I'll just start. I'm sorry. Yeah, okay. Go. Anna, go first.
It's a very good question, because I'm always a mentor for my team. I am 3 times, okay, maybe 2 times elder than you are, and for me, it's like I'm always a mentor for somebody. And this time, when I changed my life, being a very, very successful managing partner in Deloitte, I just thought, who is my mentor? And I understand I am a mentor for myself, and I should be a role model for my team who just followed me from Big Four company. They changed their mind to work for a big brand and decided to join me and to do a startup. So mentoring, it's a very, very good thing when you have it. But if you don't have a mentor, just don't be afraid. You can mentor yourself. And the main thing is not to be afraid of starting new things. Just look at me. I just quit all my very, very successful career. I feel happy. Maybe the first time in my life, I feel such a happiness that I can do something, something very, very independent. It's very important for the to be entrepreneurial. You need to be independent. It's true. When you are, when you are in a frame of all these risk management business processes and etc., you can't be really entrepreneurial. But when you are independent, you can build big mountains. It's and it's okay. So sometimes you should be a mentor for yourself.
Thank you so much. And June, you would like to
Yeah, so I would like to share this because I met my mentor during events. Like when I just started, I have no clue about all this like startup world. That's number one, I have no clue. And the second one is Legaltech startup world. Number two items that I have no idea. That's where I used to go to events, organized by startup events or any legal related events. That's where I met really awesome people who are willing to give me a lot of advice. But then my strategy in meeting my mentor, it's via depending on the things that I want to learn. So I'll say that you get one mentor in legal, you get another mentor who hasn't done any legal thing at all. Maybe they are in the startup world. They know about fundraising. They know about how fundraising works. And then another mentor who is very good in marketing. So that's where I kind of like going through events by sharing the challenges that I have, by humbly seeking for advice to know how they actually also start just like me, maybe just 10 years ago. It helps me a lot to avoid the mistakes that I make. So basically, to answer the question, I met all of my mentors actually in events by really reaching out to them, by having a problem that I have, and note that before the event, I kind of like look through all the attendance lists. I kind of know who I need to approach. It's not like I go to the event, oh yeah, I so happen to meet this guy or this lady, then we chatted. But actually, I did all my research work. I did my homework before even going through the event. And then before the event, I will kind of like trying to make appointment, maybe via LinkedIn in advance, so that all this is actually help me to save time whenever I go to event. I kind of like, I know what are the goals that I can achieve and also know what kind of advice and what kind of people that I can meet. Yeah, so that's for my part.
Thank you so much, June. I like your initiative, how you do your homework before attending an event. Next, Evan, how would you share if you have any particular mentor that guides you throughout your journey of having startups?
Absolutely, I'd love to jump in. So for me, it's kind of a mix of both Anna's and June's answers. I don't actually have any one single mentor or any particular person I would call mentor. I would say that a much more healthy, I think, approach to it is to have the mindset of treating every interaction you have as a micro mentor interaction. And that's because in startup world, there is such a unique journey that you'll go through based upon your product, based upon your stage, your resources, your situation, your team. No other person in the world is most likely having gone through your exact journey. So it's more useful to think about what are the problems that you're facing at this exact moment, what help you need, and who can actually help you answer those few questions. So it's really about having, not one mentor, but in a sense, thousands of mentors in micro interactions. So that's the approach that I've taken around mentorship.
Thank you so much, Evan. I like the micro interaction. So it encourages us to like meet as many people, have as many mentors as possible. Chang, what about yourself?
I think I just keep my answer short. I think learning from fellow startup founders is important. I think the pain. So I call Evan a lot, actually. Whenever I meet with some issue in the B2B space, one of the first few names that come to mind will be called Evan. So we are in a WhatsApp group. So having that is important, that support group. So I think in that aspect, having the opportunity to speak to a fellow entrepreneur, whether it's legal tech or non-legal tech, will be helpful.
All right, thank you so much for the answer. All right, so this burning question that I would like to ask Anna first, because you work at EY and then after that you work at Deloitte, and after that you left everything just to be part of Legit. So what encourages you to do that? And can you also share the struggles, the challenges that you face in the first 2 years?
Of course, but before that, I just thought about mentors, and I think that Richard Susskind is my mentor. I know him in person. I'm sure you know him. It's Future Lawyers. It's his bestseller. He's the English guy who just wrote best books for lawyers about future lawyers, about AI, etc., etc. So Richard Susskind, yeah, probably his mentor. Okay. Continue about my motivation. It's difficult to speak because I'm just at the beginning of my new way of my new start of my new business. It's funny. It's different. Yeah, of course sometimes I miss this corporate spirit of big brand, but a little bit. I miss it a little bit. It's really more funny to do your own business. But speaking seriously, when COVID starts, I was a managing partner at Deloitte, and I, as a successful partner, and you know, in my legal practice, we use all tech tools to provide legal service for our clients. We just use SharePoint, we use Jira, and etc., etc., etc. For me, it was really it wasn't difficult to work remotely. But what I noticed that all my clients, not almost, but all my clients, they suffered a lot, especially legal function, from COVID situation. They couldn't work remotely. And I realized that we have a very, very big market for legal tech. But legal function, in comparison to HR function, to tax function, to finance function, they don't have money to buy new systems. And in Russia, SaaS is not very popular. We don't have a lot of SaaS legal tech which can be used for lawyers, because we are obsessed with data protection, personal data protection, etc. All the companies, they want to have everything on premises. And I realized that we have a big market, and market is different. It's different from what we did for HR and for finance. We realized that the budget are very, very poor, but lawyers also need automation. So my idea was, and I absolutely understand and agree with Evan, that it should be clear and cheaply. And what we started to do the reuse of legacy companies have. For example, they bought a lot of different software for financial function. So reuse, redesign of the documents. So making the documents fit the digital system. We started to do a lot of design and the redesign of the documents. It's my favorite job, using a lot of, you know, like pictures in the documents, and etc., etc. I love legal design. The other things, so reuse, re-engineering, redesign of business processes. But it means that they can buy methodology, but they can't spend money on IT itself. So I felt this market, I felt that something is in the air, and decided that if I just start my new business, I will be able to do to provide the clients with a fast win approach. They needed a fast win approach. That is really difficult to do from Big Four companies, because we are not so fast. We are just, we are a bit we like to work with SAP, with SAP, with SAP. We like to work with complicated big system for big money. But if you want to do legal tech, it should be, again, I will repeat it again, quickly and cheap. So I decided to change and to start my new business with legal tech and to provide this fast to win approach to my clients.
Thank you so much, Anna. And I resonate with your point when you say when we want to start something, we have to start fast and cheaply. So I
Cheaply.
go through to what you have shared. So when we talk about starting fast and starting cheap, we also need to be mindful that we need to have the best team, best talent to support our ideas. Like me, I'm at the stage where I have an idea, but I don't have a team. So I believe today we have participants who are here today are also aspiring startups. So can anyone share, where do you find this best talent? So how do you form the best team?
I can start, and as you can see, I've made it. I'm now in a room. Thanks for being on the journey with me, guys. You kept me company. So yeah, I can sort of how to find the best team. I think one of the key things to understand is that it depends on who you are, right? So especially in the early founding days, when you're looking for a business partner or a co-founder, you want to find someone who has complementary skill sets to yourself, right? Before I was talking about all those different things you have to do in a business. And there's no way a single person can learn or do all of those sustainably. So being able to find people with complementary skill sets to yourself so you can work together building the organization is really important. The second thing in finding out the best team member is not just about the capability, but also around the compatibility. How well are they going to work with you under pressure? Because starting your own business and startup, anyone who's done it will know that it is absolutely one of the hardest things you can choose to do in your life. It is extremely rewarding and absolutely worth it, but it's also really difficult quite frequently. So you need to have someone who's not just smart and capable, but someone who, when things go wrong and very wrong, it's someone that you can share and be open with, someone you can problem solve with for some of the most sensitive, embarrassing, difficult types of conversations. And so, what you want to tend to do, if I give a practical piece of advice, is to always try and start a business or build a team with someone that you've worked with before, right? So you know how they operate, you know how they work. Now, that's not always possible. How do you always find someone or hire someone that you've worked with before? The answer is, well, if you haven't, then make that happen. Do some sort of trial. When we started Checkbox, we as co-founders came together and we said, let's do 6 months of this thing with no real, rules written in place around equity or salary or no expectations. Let's just see how we work for the next 6 months. And at the end of the 6 months, then we'll formalize things. And so we created almost like a trial period. And when you think about if you work anywhere else, there's always the probation period that sits on your contract. You should think about the same thing when it comes to hiring people, or more importantly, finding a business partner or a co-founder. Go through that probation period, be honest and transparent with them, because you're looking for both capability and compatibility.
Thank you so much, Evan, for sharing. I'll take note of the 6 months probationary period. I think that's an excellent idea indeed. Chang, can you share in terms of how do you form your best team, and do you believe finding people through LinkedIn?
I think startup team formation is really an art in itself, especially for the early stage founders when you have no money, no reputation, full of obstacles and very high risk. Chances are people will not be willing to come with the bet. It's going to be difficult. So I think we experience the same thing here in Singapore. In the earlier days of starting Intelllex, engineers always have an option. So engineers always have a choice to join a unicorn. And as more international unicorns set up shop in Singapore, that makes the job of hiring engineers an even tougher one. So people always be thinking, okay, should I join ByteDance? Should I join Zoom that's coming to Singapore, blah, blah, blah. It makes the idea of explaining legal tech very difficult because it's not intuitive to engineers and they think it will be a lot of English text, which doesn't really turn them on that much. Yeah. So actually what we do, which is actually the very unscalable way, and we still do that today, is to really spend a lot of effort in our HR and our recruitment process and the post-recruitment process, because as you can imagine, many of the engineers that probably join us are actually not from Singapore. So this is the first time they're living overseas. This is the first time they are leaving their hometown. So we have engineers from Malaysia, Taiwan, Vietnam, come to Singapore to join us. So we do the same for everybody. We're still a very small team in Intellect. We're 15 people. We go to the airport to pick up our engineers. We help them look for their housing. We help them read their lease agreement. When they reach the house, we make sure we do so for them. When their girlfriends come and visit them in Singapore, we make sure we also make the necessary arrangements for them as well. And we come to get together quite frequently as a company. So let's say for this year, earlier this year, during the Lunar New Year, this is the first time that everybody in the company cannot go back home. But the Taiwanese and the Vietnamese also celebrate Lunar New Year. So it's actually quite sad for the first day of Lunar New Year that if this is part of your life for the past 20 plus years and you couldn't celebrate it because of COVID in a place that's not your hometown. I think the company got together as well on the first day of Lunar New Year for a get together. So we do a lot of such non-scalable things that I think bigger companies will do. And that's, I think, how we build trust among one another and a sense of camaraderie in the company.
Thank you so much.
It's useful as a form of methodology because there's really no methodology here.
Sorry, but I think that's actually really important. I think spending enough time on your HR and doing it manually is absolutely super important to find the right talent. So yes. I think you've given really good advice, Chang.
Correct, I agree, because you mentioned not only the recruitment process, but post-recruitment process to the extent that where you help to read the lease agreement for them. I think it's very impressive. I'm happy to hear how Intellect is actually taking care of their employees, so which is great initiative on your part. And what about June? Can I hear from you as well? So where do you find your best team? Are they your friends or course mates?
Yeah, sure. I agree very much with what Evan said just now. Finding partners who are complementary skill sets with you. And then on top of that, I felt like the values of the culture, how you foresee this company will grow. It's also very important. It's some of the hardest conversation you need to start out first, even before you guys like form a company together. That is so important because you know what, especially whenever you're starting a business with your fellow friends and fellow classmates, you guys have so much of personal relationship involved. That's even more important to actually talk about what if things doesn't work out. I think it's so super important because everybody have a different level of skins in the game. Some people it's just like whenever you're in the college, right? We are being assigned to do an assignment together. It's a teamwork. Some people want to get an A, right? They want to get that 100% mark. But some of the team members, they are comfortable with B, right? So you kind of like need to make sure you get the team member that you guys have already talked about what's your vision together. But then what if that vision doesn't happen? So what would be it? Right, especially if let's say you guys are friends, past colleagues, you don't want to ruin that relationship. So that's why in the very beginning you talk it out. The worst case scenario it would be best. And it's like one place that I find that it's very good for getting like partners is that going through events specifically for that niche, for that industry, because these are the people who are excited to take out their time of whatever they can do during the weekends and probably spend the time during that events, like guests that they are personally, emotionally invested. So I think that going through this kind of events, you're able to find people who are as passionate as you, but of course, there are still time that is needed. I think having a probation period like what Evan and Chang mentioned is absolutely brilliant. You kind of need to test the synergy because a lot of times we need to see how people act rather than how people talk. So that is so super important. Yeah, that's for my viewpoint.
Thank you so much, June. I also agree with you when it comes to finding people who are as passionate as you are so that you can drive this idea, drive this project in the long run. Anna, so you have many years of working experience, 11 years in EY and 2.5 years in Deloitte. So do you believe by getting talent through LinkedIn platform, have you considered that?
Not a lot. Not a lot. What we always did, and it's my approach. We are represented in all best universities in Moscow and St. Petersburg. So I'm always searching for students for fresh thinking, So for me, it's really important to have this level of staff, students who just want to do something innovative, like Legaltech, taking into account that we don't have special, like special lessons, special sessions for Legaltech, for design, and etc., etc., etc. For them, it's really important and interesting to join such teams as I have, because sometimes, I think that I am the only team in Moscow and St. Pete that can give them practical experience in Legaltech. So for me, it's quite easy because I have more people who desire to join my team than I can take. And for me, it's quite easier because I just have different teams. I just grew a lot of different teams. And when I just announced that I want to quit and to make a startup, I just had a lot of followers. And I really had the opportunity to choose the best from them, because you're a startup, you just can't hire all of your followers. You just need to choose best, but keep in mind that your team can be bigger and bigger, and you still have a lot of followers who can join you. So for me, it was quite different experience than with Avon and June, because I'm quite experienced and I knew what I wanted to do.
Oh, that's great, Anna. As a law lecturer, I feel relieved that you're open to hiring students, fresh graduates. Good job on your part. And the last question that would ask, maybe I would direct this question to Evan, because earlier I joined other panel sessions just to hear their thoughts with regards to areas pertaining to EdTech or Max and all. So one of the discussions, one of the points that I picked up is with regards to finding investors. So how do you do that? And also in terms of charging clients, is it good to provide it for free until they are confident enough with your feature? So what are your suggestions?
Sure. So for background, Checkbox has raised over 4 million 4 million, let's just talk Singapore dollars in so far. And we're looking to raise another big round later this year as well, which will be exciting. So keep your eyes out for that. So in terms of my advice around raising money, I think in the early days, it's about understanding what are your options, because VCs or venture capitalists are not, they're typically the most commonly known source of fundraising, but I would always look at non-equity or lower equity sacrifice options as well. So a lot of governments give a lot of grants. Tap into those, tap into friends, families, and fools, as they call it, as part of your pre-seed round. Look at instruments like Safe Notes. If this doesn't make any sense to you, I'm not going to explain to you here, but Google it. It's all available online. SAFE, Safe Notes, are ways to sort of raise money without having the complexities around actually going through a full-fledged equity fundraising. Once you actually identify, well, actually, let me jump back a second. So I talked about how you actually go and raise money, but how do you find investors, right? So we had investors across Australia, Singapore, and Hong Kong. The way you would do it is every single conversation that you have with an investor, add them to your CRM, your investor relationship and system, if I replace the customer word with investor. It's about creating a mailing list where you're able to provide updates to them periodically. In the early days, we did it every single month. What that does is it allows those investors to follow you along your journey without you having to pick up the phone call and bother them every single month. And this is super, super important, because if you think about it, no matter how amazing your startup is, nobody's going to give you money overnight just because you called them the day before or sent a really compelling pitch deck. They want to see how you execute over time, whether you are consistent and whether you deliver on your promises and your goals. So my very tactical, practical tip to you today is every single person that you meet along your early stage journey, add them to this mailing list. Use whatever tools there's plenty out there that, I use MailChimp, add them to this list and send them those regular emails so that by the time you are looking to raise money, that ask is no longer out of the blue. They've been with you on the journey for a few months and they understand you, your business, and how you execute, right? So that's how you kind of build that build that investor base. In terms of how to price your product, whether you should go freemium model or go straight, charge from day one, The two different models, there's one typically for enterprises, which is the top-down sort of just sell license fees, and you typically hire a bunch of salespeople and just get them to knock on doors, do demos, and close the deal. The other approach that was mentioned is more the freemium model, which is sometimes known as the product-led approach, PLG. And it's really around building the product in such a way that you acquire users, they get hooked onto your service, and then you monetize it later on through things like premium features, or you cap out at a certain number of users, or a certain period of time before you have to start paying money. Both of these approaches work. There's been billion-dollar companies built with either approach. It comes down to your product and your business model and your expertise. So at Checkbox, we started with the top-down enterprise model where we charge from the get-go. We get really good at complex enterprise sales, and we hire salespeople to do that. But we are now moving more and more towards the product-led growth approach as well. So there's kind of those two streams that play together at the same time. So unfortunately, I can't tell you which one's the best for you. I can just tell you those are the two models you can consider. Both work, but you got to think about it yourself.
Maybe we should adopt both, thanks to you. All right, due to time constraint, because we have 4 minutes left, I would like to address the question posed by one of our participants, by Dave Chu. What was your lowest point or biggest achievement in startup journey? June, would you like to start first? You're on mute.
Okay, my lowest point, oh my God, it's so damn hard. Sometimes you know that your solution is going to help your clients to solve their problems. However, they can't see it because the solutions that you're giving is too far. They can only see the next problem. So that's where at the very beginning, we were selling helping them to solve a big problem, but then realize, hey, you know what? Just solve the next solutions that they ever need. So that's my lowest point. I would say, like, after going so many pitches, so many business development sessions, that's what I realized, right? So that's the reason that EasyLaw, we roll out this online land search portal that helped the lawyers in Malaysia. And then my biggest achievement is definitely when I went to Singapore for the Tech Law in 2018. Oh my God, Singapore has such a very great environment, even welcoming Malaysians. And then in the end, we got lucky. We won the Legaltech Venture Day, and they sent us to Madrid. It is one of my biggest achievements so far. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, June. What about Chang Ziqing?
I wouldn't say we have much achievements. I think the biggest achievement is to stay alive as a legal tech company today. So that's that. As for the lowest point, I think any point before getting a product market fit is a low point. So for all tech startups out there, all the best to our product market fit. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Thank you for the word of encouragement. How about you?
Sorry, you cut out there. Were you asking for myself or Anna?
For Anna. Anna.
Okay. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't hear. It was a problem with Wi-Fi. I would like to speak about challenges, and not because it's too early to speak about something else. The most challenge for me when I just meet my clients is just to ensure them that automatization and digitalization is about staff reduction. It's not about losing the profession. It's not about, it's not about something sad. It's about improvement of the atmosphere. It's about the routine, and it means that we are not going to reduce staff. We're just going with automatization to improve the business process and the quality of work. And we always start with that, explaining that it's not, no, don't be afraid. It's not about staff reduction.
Thank you so much, Anna, for that. And lastly, Evan, in few words, since we're running out of time, so what's your lowest point and biggest achievement?
Low points related to what Chang said. It's if anyone starts their journey and you start to realize how difficult it is to find product market fit in the early days, that is definitely when you feel your most miserable. That was definitely my lowest point when we first started at the very beginning, because when you talk to customers, you realize that your product or your idea isn't the right one, and you pivot, it becomes so disorientating, and you feel so hopeless at the beginning. And it gets more and more steady, but it still takes so many years to get there. So that would definitely be one of the low points. The high points, many. I would say more recently, it was winning the Singapore government contract with the Attorney General Chambers for our platform. And it's not just because we were able to work with the Singapore government, but it was really a testament to how far we've come as a product and as a company to be able to win that tender and deliver, not only the product, but the team behind a successful implementation that went live earlier this month. So it was a big success. So really happy about that.
Well done and congratulations to you. Thank you so much to our panelists, June, Chang, Evan, as well as Anna, for spending time to share your struggles as well as your aspiration to all the participants. And thank you to all the participants who have spent 1 hour with all of us. So with that, I'll end this session. Thank you so much and goodbye.